Let's go through that as an example. The war in Ukraine is one that your company's been involved with. Can you briefly describe what was described in a Washington Post article recently about what you're doing to help the war in Ukraine?
Well, so the genesis was our product's very well known. We have a counter intel product, it's called PGE, which is very well known. We have a commercial product called Foundries, very well known. We have a product that is not well known called MetaConstellation. And that product allows you to use algorithms on large data sets to hone in on adversaries over, say, for example, a whole country. And the integration of data the infusion of data from satellite, telephones, other sources, classified sources, and then the disambiguation of that so people only see what they are allowed to see on the battlefield is something that took us 15 years to build in various forms. The Ukrainians, without going into all details, but some of it, they of course went to the most important services in the world and said, okay, what should we use? And I'm very proud to hear they had one answer, Palantir. And then we were asked if we were willing to supply our product philanthropically, basically, for free. And I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior. The product then allowed them, according to this article, to do targeting with like a factor of 20 better, which basically, because the primary heroes here are the actual heroes of the Ukraine, and they're also, I have to say, one of the caveats is they're very, very technical. The people that have used our product there are world-class engineers, but they were also able to train normal engineers, and in their hands, they were able to change the targeting ratio, which, according to David Ignatius, played a big role in changing the course of the war.
Okay. So can the U.S. government get the same kind of software? Does it have it? Can you say that?
The U.S. government has our software and uses it very aggressively. I mean, look, the role of the U.S. government and the British government and others is somewhat sensitive. Some of it is in this article from Days Nation, some is not. But it would be remiss not to mention that these governments have played an enormous, effective, and crucial role, not just with our software, but also with our software.
So where do you want to take the company in the future? You already built the company. It's pretty large, pretty successful. What is your future direction?
Well, on the government side, some of this is not directly Palantir related, but we, in America, Western countries, we should learn also from the Ukrainians what actually worked on the battlefield. You know, I'm very in favor of a robust posture in America. We should look what percentage of our budget is being spent on things that actually turn the tide. So not all that's going to go to me, but we need to invest where the West has an advantage. Now, what do we want to do as a company? Of course, we are going to grow and continue to grow that suite of products. Of course, at this point, a lot of our growth is commercial. So without going into Q4 results, the U.S. is taking a real liking to our commercial product. Growing that part of our business is obviously important, but my fundamental view of what Palantir should be is an instrument, a technical digital software instrument, which is again what we, I think, are the best at in America, that strengthens institutions, both commercial and economic and political, in Western countries.
So today, your company is based in what city?
Denver.
But you, as the CEO, live in?
I live in the backwoods in basically a shack in New Hampshire.
And the reason that's so convenient and helpful to the company is?
I mean, you wouldn't know it on TV, but I'm an extreme introvert. And so I hide out, but I travel. I'm back to traveling 250 days a year. And so I travel from office to office to office to office, tricking Palantirians thinking I'm meeting with clients when in fact I'm meeting with the most important client, them. What are you building? Why are you building it? What's working? What's not? How's our senior leadership failing you today? Please tell me how we're failing you today. How did we fail you even worse than you thought today?
So you're also a pretty accomplished skier, right?
Cross-country skier.
So that helps being in New Hampshire?
Yes, but it's really, I'm a very accomplished introvert. And, you know, in New Hampshire, I have no neighbors. I barely talk. I go into my little introverted cave. I come up with lots of ideas. I mean, we say, our clients know, sometimes who don't believe us, we build these products 5 years before anyone believes they're real. A lot of the inspiration for building those products comes from When I'm cross-country skiing, I think I'm the most accomplished Tai Chi practitioner in the Western business world. I do that. I walk around, I bounce my head into a log and think, oh, wow, we need a product that, or so-and-so is really good. And then, a lot of it's also like, when you decide a product needs to be built, or somebody like a Palantir or a Sham says, hey, this is a really interesting product idea. And it's like, then you have to decide, well, who's going to build it? Like, this is like a lot of the biggest decisions at Palantir come down to, okay, for example, the Foundry product, which is, I don't know, without going to Q4, it's been like growing like a weed in the West, commercial product. I remember someone came to me with the basic architecture of it, and we took a person who is on our, by far our biggest client, and it's probably worth 30% of our revenue, took off the most important engineer and put that engineer on this product that no one believed would work. And that's how we ended up. So like figuring out who does what under what conditions, and then there's a productization phase. So we often build a product, then it's beta, it's in the market, means we still have to hold it up. Then a whole different team has to get it into productization phase. And all those decisions have to be made on the ground, on the factory floor, basically. It's like cutting leather. Except for the leather.
Well, don't you need to have the ultimate security clearances?
To work at Palantir?
Well, for you personally, you have to review these.
Actually, one of the best decisions I ever made was not getting a clearance. And I'll tell you, it's a really good decision, because if I was cleared to know a lot of stuff I know, I couldn't sit on the stage.
Okay. You don't keep secure documents on your desk.
I'm not. I shouldn't make. No, I'm not planning an office. I'm not planning to run for office.
Okay. So.
It's a pretty good joke. You guys are too polite to laugh.
I would think that companies that would do what you do, some of them I would think might be based in Israel. They're pretty good at these kind of things. Is that some of your major competitors? Or
well, again, I don't want to go into who use our. We proudly have an office in Tel Aviv. We have an office there because Israel knows our product very well. We are proudly part of that ecosystem. I think the great companies in military technology are going to be in Silicon Valley, the Ukraine, and Israel. What we've actually found, interestingly, without going into who uses our product in Israel and who doesn't, the more technically accomplished a future client is, the quicker they buy our product. It's kind of very counterintuitive. The clients, partners now who'd be more able to build our product appreciate how difficult it is to build it.
So
buy it.
You sell your product to company or government agency A, is it a thing where they have to keep getting it updated, or you just sell it and they use it however they want, or you have to help them use it and then you update it every so often?
It's a great question. So there's a substrate of our product. So let's just say clandestine agency 204. They'll get, say they buy Foundry and then they buy PG. They'll get a core substrate of the product. If they're sophisticated technically, and many of them are, we'll teach them how to build on top of the product. So a very sophisticated client using our product will build their own software on top of our product, because they understand there's certain things that would take decades to build. They don't want to build them. And then they'll build their own things on top of it. We, on our end, deliver new features. So let's just say, for example, in the Ukraine war, we've learned a lot about what you would need to fight in Europe, which, by the way, no one understood until now. It's a complete fighting in the desert, fighting in Europe, fighting against Russia, fighting against, smaller, less effective, more terrorist organization, completely different thing. We'll then build features that we will, obviously that's one of the reasons we only ship these to allies, that will then get shipped across, say, the NATO structure. But for example, sophisticated partners and clients like the Ukrainians and maybe ones you've mentioned will also build things on their own, and those things will be built on top or next to our product, and they own those things completely. And that's why it ends up being kind of good for both sides.